Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Justin Michael. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, we're doing another amazing content. And before I get started, let me take out this time to appreciate all my followers and those that are sharing, my YouTube videos. Thank you so much. And this particular content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. So today, I'll be talking to you about the trauma of Adam. The trauma of Adam. And this content is aimed at understanding what happened before the fall of man, and what it was originally before what we are having now. So at the end of this video, you'll be able to understand that what you think love is not what love is. You understand that how women behave, was not how they used to behave. What led to men not loving women and what led to women not respecting men. All of those things are going to be unpacked in this video. So again, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. So let's go. When God created man, and even before that, he created the heavens and the earth, and some people believe that that was the second creation, not the first creation. So the world wasn't what it was. There was something else, and God had to wipe out the old earth and create another one. So whether that was true or not is another symposium discussion. But God, in the book of Genesis, created the heavens and the earth. And I've tried my best to compare this particular story with other religion, and I found out that both Christianity and Islam and many other religions agree to the fact that God created the heavens and the earth, and he created man in his image and after his likeness. And you see, the story of Adam was true. In the Al-Quran, it was Adam. The story of the woman was true. In the Al-Quran, it was Awal. So you understand that everything from this point, before the fall, were true. And so God created man, and he gave man certain assignments. He said, Adam, take care of the garden. And so you see that in the book of Genesis, man has purpose. So let's start with that. So a man must have purpose. And so the purpose of man, according to the book of Genesis, was to cultivate, was to take care of the garden. And so man has work, man has something he was doing. He was actually doing well, he was doing great, he was going to work and coming back, he was making money, he was into business, he was enterprising. Because when you look at the Garden of Eden, there were 4 rivers, and it was talking about a particular river that is filled with gold, a lot of which is Avila. And so you realize that man was not just a farmer, as people would say. Adam was a business person. Adam was enterprising. Adam was has his 9 to 5. Adam was family oriented. Adam knew how to take care of animals. He was also a farmer. So he has so many streams, of income, in quotes, as would say in today's world. So that was Adam. He had something he was doing. Life was going on well for him. If he was supposed to go to school, he went to school. He went to the school of God, where God gave him instructions as to what to do and what not to do. He knew where to go to. He understands the languages of animals. He knows how to mention their names. And God put him to a series of tests to know if his creative power, if his dominion abilities, were actually working, and he proved to God that he's actually doing a great job. So he was applauded for that. And so in this story, we realize that man was fulfilling purpose. Alright. And so after a time, after God created man, things were going on. And he said, hold on, it is not good for man to be alone. I'll create for him and help meet for him. And so when you see the word help meet, it's not necessarily talking about when people say man was alone, it was because of loneliness that God, created a woman for him so that he wouldn't be lonely. That was not the story. Man was not lonely. Man was actually, fulfilled. He was enjoying life. There was no point, with which Adam was complaining. There was no time Adam complained about him being lonely. He didn't feel lonely. The story tells us he was lonely. He was doing this thing. And I think that if a man is actually fulfilling purpose, working in his purpose, he will never be lonely. He will never be lonely. You begin to feel lonely if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. And so if you're not supposed to be pursuing, in fact, purpose is enough to consume all your time. Working in purpose, striving to do the bidding of God, to do what He has called you to do, facing your business. Those are things they are too much a thing to think that Adam will have the time to now be lonely. Alright, so that nullifies the idea that Adam was lonely. It wasn't. It is true, he was alone because he was the only man. Every other thing that you see were animals, and plants. And so we understand that he was the only man at the time, but that doesn't mean he was feeling lonely. So the second thing I want to debunk is the idea that man was incomplete. Man wasn't incomplete. It was sufficient. Because the creation talked about God creating man, and He said, and God blessed them. So, who are them? It means the woman was inside the man. And so there was no form of incompleteness, in him. He was actually complete in himself. So, when God created the woman, there are certain assignments for the woman. Number one is for social compatibility. Because Adam cannot be talking to animals. And that is if it was something that was important or necessary. And so it was for social compatibility. You have another person that you can rub mind with, you can gist with, and all of those things, you see. That's one of the reasons. The second reason is that for propagation of the kingdom. Most of us don't know that everything was designed before the creation of the world, that man will replenish the earth, that man will subdue it, and part of his job is procreation. All right, and that procreation is not limited to biology in terms of giving birth to another human being. The increase, the blessing of increase of dominion is upon everything he does. And so it is safe to say that Adam was doing well. Absolutely. So the woman came. And the Bible makes us understand that it was brought out of the ribs of Adam. And I made a research on the ribs. It was the finest rib and the best, part of any animal, including human being. And science says that is the only bone that can grow by itself if being removed. So if you remove a part of the rib, that place won't be empty. Over months, the rib will, grow back. And that suggests to me that if God will not take any other part of the man to create woman, and is just taking that very rib, then it means there's something spectacular about women. And so this narration about the fall of man, blaming the woman, you would understand that it wasn't that the woman have something over the man. It was that God was trying to and God wasn't trying to create competition. He wasn't trying to create It was just create something that will be compatible, that will be there for the man. And so Eve came from that ribs, fine ribs, beautiful creature, doing well, and Adam said, "This is the bone of my bone, the ribs of my ribs." And now that, I've heard people say that God brought all the animals to Adam to name them, and Adam could not find any of those animals, to marry or to date. That's not true. So if that theory is true, then it means that people can actually look at animals, lust after animals, and like animals, to date animals or to sleep with animals. But it wasn't true. It was just that when God created Eve, he was the only thing, if I'll use that word, that looks like Adam. So further research shows that everything that it was the frontal of Adam. You see, it was the frontal, which means you're having a case, and it's covered. So the only thing that could fit was Eve. And so he was able to recognize that this is a woman like I am. Only that she has a womb. I don't have a womb anymore. My womb has been given to her. So he named the woman, a man with womb. And God to affirm to that by calling her woman. And so that was the original name of the person we call Eve today. I'm going somewhere, just stay with me. And so after this point, God blessed them, you should be fruitful and multiply, and when you go further, both Bible and our Quran made us to understand that the account was true, that both of them were naked and they were not ashamed. And again, that nullifies the idea that Adam was far from the woman. It speaks to vulnerability. It was that Adam was vulnerable. Adam was loving. So when you read that story, realize that everything you think they say man don't have ability to do now, man actually used to have the ability. And so the man was loving. So the word naked in the Greek was aron. All right, meaning that it was open. And so Adam was forthcoming. Adam was expressive. Adam was not a caveman. Adam was not unloving. Adam was not unemotional. Adam was not anything negative. Adam was actually loving. He was caring. He was this sweet guy. He was romantic, whatever you think it is. Adam was everything good. All right. So he was loving. He will come and give himself and the wife, they will gist. How did I know that? Because the creation told us that there was evening and morning. So morning, he goes to work. When he comes back in the evening, what is expected? You gist with your partner. Oh, how was work today? What were the animals doing? What of your cattle? What of the goats? Are you amassing more goats? Are things going up? Is your business working well? And Adam was free to express. If Adam was angry, Adam would say, I'm angry, I'm not happy. Adam was expressive. Contrary to what we have today, when they say men are not expressive. Adam was. So they were naked. It means there was no sentiment. There was no bitterness. There was no guilt. There was no shame. There was no anger. There was nothing. So anything he feels, he expressed to the wife. Anything the wife feels, he expressed to the man. There was no filter. And like what you have to say, you have to filter what you so that you will not. You see, everybody, they were just cool. And I think that is where God is calling us to in this time. That we have to be cool with our partners. I don't think there's anything as beautiful as that. That nobody is afraid to say anything to anybody. And nobody is going to have any negative notion about anything. And I think that's a good place where your conscience is so clear and you have peace and you have love and you have joy, you have everything good. I don't think there's anything beautiful than that. What we are clamoring for, because we are looking for true love this is what it is. That they were both naked and they were not ashamed. So that's what it is. Then the next verse told us that, and the serpent came. And I began to ask myself, because I've heard that people will say, where was Adam when the serpent came? All right. That it was because Adam was far away. That was a blame. They blamed Adam for not being around, for not being close to the wife. But when I read the story over and over again with different translations and different commentary, I realized that it wasn't so. So something attracted the serpent to the woman. And you should know that if you don't have the tendency for something, you can't be tempted for it. For example, if you're not hungry, you understand? If you're not hungry, you can't be, food cannot tempt you. You can't be tempted with food. If you're not promiscuous, you can't be tempted with sex. Do you understand? It's that simple psychology. And so if she doesn't have any tendency for it, and I'm not saying, so because people will have to, the next question is, where did she get it from? Because then there was no knowledge of good and evil. It was just good and it was God. But this was what I felt attracted the serpent to the woman. Number one, the very material Adam was made of was not Eve made of. So Adam was made of clay, then God breathed into him, and so it's safe to say that Adam was a lower resolution of God to dominate the earth, right? Then the woman was made of ribs, and so when you see what made the woman and what made the serpent, it was looking the same. It was looking the same. The serpent was not made of ribs. In fact, serpent was made of the finest stones. Of the finest stones. The woman was made of the finest rib. Can you see? The serpent had beauty. He had wisdom. He had everything. The woman too had beauty. She has wisdom, because if she's not wise, she can't even work with Adam. She can't be compatible with Adam. And so you see these similarities. You see this commonality between them. And the serpent realized that the instruction was given to Adam and not Eve directly. And I can even debate that, because Eve was inside Adam when God gave the instruction. However, when Eve was brought out, because of their vulnerability, over time, Adam must have told Eve, what the instruction is. And this is how I know. When the serpent came to tell Eve, look at it, the serpent said, as for the fruit of this garden, was there anyone who said you should not eat? And immediately said, no. We can eat everything, but they said the one in the midst of the garden we should not eat. That when we eat, we shall surely die. So, which means that the level of vulnerability that Adam had with Eve, made it possible for him to tell Eve everything. And this is a note to men, that until you have a clear instruction about what you are going to do, about every step you're supposed to take, do not take that step. Do not start that thing. Why we have so much crisis in our journey, in our lives, is because, number one, we don't wait to get clear instruction, or what we call manual for our destiny or for our purpose. Alright, so Adam had everything. He received the clear instruction. He knew what to do. He understood what he was supposed to become. And so the question of existentialism wasn't there for him, because he was aware of himself. He was aware of where he was going. He was aware of what he was here on earth to do. Alright, so he was fully aware. So God brought the woman. You can see the progression. Purpose before pleasure. Purpose before the woman. Purpose before marriage. But most of the time we twist this thing. We do marriage while we are still even finding our feet. We are going into relationship while we are still looking for what to do. We don't even know who we are yet. We don't know what we are called to do yet. But we are already dragging another woman along. And that's why I found every time, as people do relationship without knowing what their purpose is, there's no how you will crash land. You're not going to get anywhere with all these things. Alright, you begin to think that the woman is the problem. You think the woman brought problem into your life, and that is not true. Alright, so the serpent was cunning, because that was the only difference. The serpent was cunning. It was that he wasn't saying the whole truth. He was telling the woman a lie. And so you see, over time, because the question now is, was this conversation once? But it wasn't. I'm not sure it was once. Because if it was once, nobody can come to you once and just get you like that. I think it takes time, you know, when you understand the stages of manipulation. The first one is, you know, introduction. They introduce themselves to you as what they are not, you know. Familiarity. They familiarize themselves with you. And I think that's what people would do. You know, you want to get something from somebody, the first thing you do is, you know, you wet the ground, as they say. And so it was there subtly coming and going, you know, trying to make friends with this woman. And this woman was wondering, okay, you're just a serpent. There's nothing, you know, bad in that, you know, but until the serpent was able to capture the desire of the woman, he used that against her. And so, long story short, the woman, you know, consented and she ate of the fruits, you know, that God had told them not to eat. And our Quran to confirm this same story, you know, while he heeded to Al-Shaitan, and Al-Shaitan deceived her, she ate. And the next verse says, when Eve met Adam, she gave Adam and Adam ate. And so the first question is, what is wrong with Adam? Did Adam not know that this thing was not supposed to be eaten? Did God not give him clear instruction about what to do and what to do? And you see, every time, if you don't have clear instruction about things, people will suggest anything to you. And if you don't know the one that is good and the one that is evil, you will just take anything, and just like that, you attract problem into your life. So you have to know what your do's and don'ts are. You have to know what is compatible with who you are, with your calling, with your covenant, with your destiny, with your purpose, with your life. You know, some other religion will say that your guardian angel has things that they accept and things they don't accept. And so if you put it in that context, you realize that always there are do's and don'ts attached to every instruction. There are advantages and disadvantages. There are things you must not do. There are things you can do. There are things that are necessary. There are things that are not necessary. So you have to understand all of these things as a man. Because if you don't, anybody can suggest anything to you. And you will just accept. Alright, so when I got to that verse, I paused and I asked myself, no, Adam cannot just do that. Something must have happened. And so I had these thoughts about Samson and Delilah. You know, and I was asking myself, how? Because we look at those two people, Adam and Samson, they both lost something. And they lost something powerful. And the first thing they lost was power. Number two, they lost dominion. Number three, they lost their place with God. And so you see that Samson, when Delilah came to him, it wasn't once. In fact, what got Samson wasn't sex. On the contrary, you see, that's why you have to just take your time to read your Bible and understand what the real story is. It wasn't sex. Samson was actually sleeping with every other lady. Delilah was not the first girl Samson was sleeping with. But he said, give me this one that I may marry. The parents said, no, I won't give it until he insisted on Delilah. And that's not my point. The point is, how did Delilah, got Samson? So this was how. If you read this story, the woman, every day and every night, she would cry and say, tell me the secrets of your power. Tell me the secrets of your power. She was crying. And that is why, I don't know if I can say this, but let me say it. And please, I want you to be open to this conversation. And that is why till today, one of the most subtle and most active means for a woman to get a thing from a man, guess what they do? They cry. They form tears. So when they ask you something once and you say, no, I'm sorry, I cannot give you, guess the next thing they will do? They will form tears. They begin to cry. Why you do like this now? Give me. You see, you can see Delilah. You can see that attitude. playing out even till today. That Samson said, no, I'm not telling you. And Delilah began to cry. And one of the things you have as a weakness as a man, in case you don't know, is that you don't have the ability to handle tears. Particularly if you're coming from somebody you love. You can't. Because what your strength is actually your weakness. I'll say it again. What your strength is actually your weakness. And so they cannot get any great man through his it's through what he hates. They get a man through what he likes. I will say that again. A man's strength is actually his weakness. And what a man loves is actually his snare. So you cannot get a strong man without capturing what he loves. And so the way to a man's heart is what he loves. So you watch that in movies. You don't want to get a strong person. Who did they get first? They look for the wife or the child, something he loves. So whatever he loves becomes his weakness. And that's why it's careful. You have to be careful about what you love and to know what you love. And you understand that what you love is what becomes your weakness at the end of the day. And so, Samson, was saying no, but this man kept crying. Because what he loved was his weakness. And so, he hid. And so that tells me that Awal, or the woman, she didn't just come and say, Adam, eat this apple, and Adam ate it. No. She must have cried. She must have said, it means you don't love me. If you don't do this for me, it means you don't like me. It means why you always tell me you love me. This and that, emotional blackmail. And because Adam needed his peace. I'm not trying to make that as a solid excuse for him. But we understand that these are things that we struggle with as men. That when a woman becomes persistent about something, just for us to have peace, we have to give it. And so Adam did, and that was the fall. So Adam lost his place. Adam lost many things, in his life. And so God was furious. God came in the cool of the day to say, Adam, where are you? And that is the problem. Every time you lose your place when it comes to purpose and destiny, you are lost. You are lost. Your self-image is gone. Your self-awareness is gone. Your self-esteem is gone. And so once you're not in your place, and these are signs that we get every time. What you see as internal crisis is that it's either you are not in the right place, and that is where you're supposed to be. It's either you're not there, or you're doing something else. And so you're not fulfilled. Once you lost your sense of fulfillment, then you're not doing the right thing. And so Adam lost all of these things, and God said, where are you? He said, I was naked and I was ashamed. God said, who told you? Who told you that you are? And once you feel the sense of nakedness, two things have happened. Number one, who used to be your cover? Who used to be your confidant? Who used to be your friend? Who used to be your accountability partner is no longer available. And so you feel naked. And so Adam felt naked. Now the woman was resentful. Now the woman was questioning him. Now the woman was saying things back to him. Adam will say, let's do this. The woman will say, no, I have my own opinion. Because something has creeped in. Something has creeped in. And that's why you see, these are things that plays out today. That you see a woman wanting to take the place of the man, wanting to make her own rule, wanting to make her own law. Is that conflict. And that's what we are having in today's world. Gender equality, women, whatever, feminism. You see, these are the things. You can see the conflict around. Is that women want to take the place of the man. And the man was like, how could you? Where are you coming from? And then fight will break out. And the next thing is, hashtag our independence woman, all of those things come to play. So all of those things Adam was feeling. He felt naked. He felt unfulfilled. He was ashamed of himself. He was ashamed because this is the woman I used to have control over. And the control is not controlling her around. Like he has authority over this woman. This woman respects him. He used to love this woman, and all of a sudden, love disappeared. Respect was gone. And God was furious. God pronounced judgment. He said, why did you do this? He said, it was the woman. And I will explain that in a bit. It was the woman you gave to me. And the woman, God asked the woman, what did you do? What have you done? He said, it was the serpent. And you see how God pronounced judgments on these three elements. He looked at the serpent. He said, from today, you shall crawl. You shall eat dust. Serious judgment. He looked at the woman and said, from today, from pain shall you give forth. Your desire shall be of your husband, and all of those. And that's why today, women always have, going through labor and have pains, birth pains, and all of those things. And he looked at the man. You see, because God was not angry with the man, he was angry with what the man did. God was angry with the man, and so instead of pronouncing a direct judgment on the man, he pronounced it on everything else that's connected with the man. And that's why he said, from today, you shall toil before you get. You shall labor. So it means that things that used to be within reach has been taken far from him. So if he could have access to this phone just by stretching his hand and getting it, it means the phone is taken to maybe my 2. Then we'll have to trek to my 2 to go get the phone and come back. That's where you see the word, from your sweat shall you eat. You understand? So the man was not cursed. But everything that used to give man joy, everything that used to give man fulfillment, everything that used to give man pleasure, were taken away from his reach. So he will have to grope, he will have to labor, he will have to toil, he will have to sweat to get there. And so this gave the man pain. This was what traumatized him. And he began to question so many things. He began to ask himself, if this woman, hadn't been in my life, will I find myself in this situation? It was this woman that caused me this pain. It was you, this woman, that caused me this problem. It was you that made me lost my place with God. It was you that made me lost my dominion. And you see, all of this is I'm telling you is embedded in one thing. And so after God pronounced judgment, the Bible says, and Adam looked at the woman and he called her Eve. One word, Eve. In that one word is disappointment, is failure, is problem, is bitterness. It's like, I hate you. I don't know why I even loved you in the first place. I don't know why I liked you in the first place. I don't know why I confided in you in the first place. I told you everything. But I told you that we're not supposed to eat out of this garden. But I told you God told me. But I told you this is my purpose. But I told you my mission. I gave you the blueprints of my life. I told you where I needed to go. I told you the things I needed to do. I was plain with you. I was transparent with you. But this is what you did to me. This was what you used in paying me back. It was a thing of pain for him. And because he lost the ability to express, he used just one word by naming the woman Eve. And that's why every time you see, when you see statements like, what a man likes in name, what he eats in name, it is very true. So once a man names something, that is what it is. So he named the woman Eve. And Eve is not a cute name. Go and find out. So if you are the type if you are the one that is still looking for your Eve, you are looking for trouble, you are looking for a problem, you are looking for calamity, Eve is not a cute name. Eve is not a good name. Eve is a name born out of regret. Eve is a name born out of disappointment, out of pain, out of trauma. And so she said, well, this is what I have to do. You have to be Eve. And that was it. And so you realize that after that time, it was difficult for man to love. It was difficult for man to love. It was difficult for woman to respect. Because they feel that, what do you know that I don't know? It's not a contemporary issue. These are things that happened in the garden. And so the woman lost respect for the man because she felt there was nothing that the man knows that he doesn't know. And that is why when Jesus came back, when he died on the cross, when he rose up again, these are the things, this was how he addressed man. He said, man, having restored you back to your original state, now love your wife. And he looked at the woman and he said, woman, having restored you to your original state, respect your husband. And so you see everything that happened in the Garden of Eden that caused man pain, that caused man problem. Jesus came, after fulfilling the necessary requirements, he began to address these issues. And so it is possible today, after the death of Jesus, that man can love again. It is possible today, after the death of Jesus, that a woman can respect the man. It is possible that a man can be vulnerable to the woman. In fact, there are ranges of emotion. A man can express himself. A man can be emotional. A man is free to cry. A man is free to laugh. A man is free to say, I'm sad. A man is free to say, I'm tired today. A man is free to say, I am happy today. A man is free to say, this is the amount of money I have. A man is free to declare his assets. A man is free to do anything he wants to do without being ashamed or feeling naked. And this is the trauma of Adam. How could you? How could you do this to me? But when Jesus came, he said, look, I've done everything. Love again. Love again. And this is my message for you. If you won't get anything out of this piece, get this. That the idea that men don't love is not true. The idea that women don't respect is not true. In the beginning, it wasn't so. Man had the heart to love. Man was compassionate. Man was sympathetic. Man was loving. Man has affection. Man was caring. Man was romantic. Man was free. Man was kind. You see, we had everything. And the woman too was respectful. The woman too was nice. The woman too was loving. And that's why you see what you see as transactional today. When you see, that's why relationships today for a man is transactional. It's transactional because there's a part of Adam that is still existing after the fall. That says, see, I've done it before, it did not work. I won't do it again. If I don't know what I will get out of this, if this is not going to make way for me, if this is not going to give me this, if not going to bless me with that, I am not doing transactional. Alright? And you see many things, many examples I can give, that caused, this disparity, that caused this huge difference in what was in original Adam and what is existing in, the fallen Adam. But if you understand all these things, you understand why men behave the way they behave. You understand why women behave the way they behave. And because the blood of Jesus, as I've told for us, we are free to love again. And so, my dear men, I beseech you that you can love with the whole of your heart. That is not true that men don't love. That is not true that men are not vulnerable. That is not true that men are not emotional. Men actually are. Men actually are. And that is why you see Jesus says that if you want to love, don't love according to your own patterns. Love the way I have loved. How did I love? I died. So love is sacrificial, and that was what Adam was doing in the garden before the fall of man. And so this is the trauma of Adam. I hope this blesses you. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I would like to hear from you. What do you think about this? Because this makes sense to you at all. So, I'd like to hear from you. Until we meet again, bye bye.